Okay, let's hit it.
Weather in the east, but fairly tranquil as we head off to the west. That will be our first stop, and then we'll show you some of the activity occurring right now into the mid-Atlantic states in the northeast. First stop into the west, where it's fairly tranquil, so we'll start out on a quiet note and then work our way eastward into the action. All that we're seeing heading into the north and west is some rain across the Pacific Northwest, some snow into the higher elevations. I'll probably continue to see some wet weather across this region, working on into the nighttime hours and certainly on into your Friday. But the Golden State will remain dry, and with our high pressure anchored up to the north, the offshore flow will continue, so we might expect to Southern California, nothing into Northern California or into the Pacific Northwest. A clean sweep tonight. It's not often we can talk about no seismic activity out there across the west, but such was tonight, one of those more quiet nights, so that was very nice. As we look at our current map, here you'll be able to see really that compared to the east, the west is certainly very, very quiet. And what we're watching is an area of low pressure that earlier brought quite a bit of rain, some very heavy rain from Texas across much of the deep south. Today it produced a few thunderstorms, one of those thunderstorms even producing a tornado heading into northeastern Florida. All the severe thunderstorms and all the thunderstorm activity has certainly managed to quiet down, but we're still dealing with a system that's drawing a lot of moisture up and out of the Gulf of Mexico and pulling it into a region where the cold air is kind of hugging the surface. So there we go. Look at the orange there. That indicates where we have freezing rain or sleet coming down. A mixture of precipitation. Richmond, for instance, seeing some freezing rain, then changing over to snow, and now back to freezing rain. Sloppy conditions extending through much of West Virginia, on into parts of Ohio. We had some freezing rain into the Lexington area. It looks like it's changing over to rain. Slowly but surely we're pulling in some warmer air, and that will help many of the areas seeing the wintry precipitation to change back over to some liquid precipitation. But before that happens, lots of problems out here, folks. As you can imagine, when you get the snow or the sleet and freezing rain, numerous accidents, and that's what we've seen throughout the evening hours. Also the potential for power outages as we're getting icing accumulating, not only on the ground, which causes slippery conditions, but also on some of the power lines out there. So some problem areas heading into the Piedmont, on into the foothills, and working on into now parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Philly now seeing the snow beginning as of this last hour. So we could find some problems into many of the major cities heading into the north and east toward the rush hour. Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a peek then at the radars, and from this you'll be able to see the moisture finally pulling out of South Carolina. Still seeing some problem areas heading into central portions of North Carolina, western portions of North Carolina. Don't see a whole lot of new precipitation, but the ice is still there and still some problems. Richmond, as I mentioned, seeing some freezing rain, and the northward extension of this, not seeing any moisture yet into New York City. That's a virga. It's actually evaporating before it hits the ground. So it will be moving on into New York City and Hartford and Boston. Boston probably after your morning rush hour, but most of you folks are going to have to contend with some wet roadways and possibly some icy roadways heading into the morning rush, and that will certainly make things a lot more tricky. Pittsburgh, for instance, seeing some freezing rains. You've got a layer of ice, and at times we've had some moderate snow. So snow on top of a layer of ice, very tricky travel around the Pittsburgh area this evening. And again, some